Welcome back to the DMZ America podcast with me, Ted Rall, from the left.
Me, Scott Stantis, from the right.
And him, Marshall Ramsey, also
from Mississippi.
From Mississippi. There you go.
From Mississippi Today, where he is the editor at large, by the way.
That's right.
His
Thank
title.
you. Appreciate that.
Excellent. So let's talk about the political implications of the Gaza war. I mean, this is kind of uncharted territory for a variety of reasons. First of all, I never thought I'd ever hear about the importance of the Arab American vote in an American election. I just didn't, but here we are.
Is there one?
They're 1% of the voters in Michigan, and a lot of analysts are projecting that 1% may cost Biden the key state.
Only 1% because Detroit is, I think Detroit has like 1 million Arab
I'll take a look at
residents. I could be wrong, but I know that, they have minarets in Detroit, and they have, it's a large Islamic population. I watched both my friends now Googling things. Nothing's more interesting on a podcast than 2 out of 3 men Googling.
Yeah, it's hard to find the exact percent here, but anyway, there is a lot of Arabs in Michigan.
And Michigan's going to be a swing state.
Yeah. And so anyway, the thing is, there's a lot of very weird variables. I also don't think that we've seen a really truly existential war in Israel, in the Middle East, since 1973, since the Yom Kippur War. And I would argue that even 73 wasn't really existential to this extent. This is more comparable to 1967, I think. Mm-hmm. And this is for most people who are alive today, I'm 60 years old. I was 4 in 1967. I don't remember it. They just do not know. They haven't seen this before. You're looking at possible regional escalation. So even though the U.S. is not involved directly, no boots on the ground, likely no boots on the ground, you've still got a scenario where we're involved in a proxy war. We have completely, literally embraced Netanyahu, literally, and we have completely given him carte blanche to do whatever he wants. And even though behind the scenes, supposedly the administration is asking him to go easy, you've got over 11,000 dead Palestinians, over 4,000 of them are children. It's already in a month. The memory of the October 7th terrorist attack is pretty much all but forgotten, even, because it's all been erased in this bloodbath. And I'm just curious, my mom, God bless her soul, she used to say, Ted, quit worrying about talking about drones and like Iraqis and Afghans. They're brown. No one gives a shit about brown people. I just wonder if this time is different in Palestine because of social media. The images are on our phone. Just think about how in the photos from the Vietnam War of the girl who was burned by napalm running down the street, who won a Pulitzer Prize, and the photo of the South Vietnamese general executing the Viet Cong guy in the middle of a street in Saigon. Those 2 images, they helped move the needle. And now you've got images like that, even more brutal, thousands of times a day. So either we're really radically desensitized and we don't care, video games, violent movies, all this, social media, or it is going to get to people and they're going to turn against it. I'm not sure which way this goes. What do you guys think?
I think the brown people analogy, your mom, God rest her soul, is probably right, sadly, to a degree. But I'm going to contest, and you tell me if I'm wrong, Ted, because you would be more apt to know the answer to this question. That number of 11,000 dead Palestinians is coming from Palestine, right? It's
coming from the Gaza Health Ministry, but if you look it up,
okay,
sources like the BBC and the Guardian and the
Washington
reporting Post have said that historically they've always been extremely reliable, and they also issue details behind those numbers. Each person who's killed, they release their name, their age, their address, and their profession. So it's not really just raw numbers like, oh, we think these people die. Those numbers are probably low.
I don't know about that. I'm not sure that they're reliable numbers per se. I'm not saying there's not horrific carnage going on. I'm always very, as you know, cynical of this type of numbers coming from who they're coming from.
You should.
And they're coming from, and they're being reported by, you just mentioned a whole list of, news organizations that are going to not be completely sympathetic to Israel and their plight. You can't, and it has the attacks in Israel can't be forgotten, Ted. We can't let that go. That is the level of heinous. Women raped so viciously that they cracked their hips. Okay. This is what we're talking about. Babies being, this isn't like hyperbole. This is fact. This is babies being stabbed in their cribs. This is people, 250 human beings being held hostage now in conditions that can't be very good. You can't just say, well, that was then, this is now. Israel,
but that's what happened because of the subsequent war. The plight of the hostages and the heinous acts of October 7th have been kind of erased. I mean, just think about like how obsessed we were over the 52 American hostages held at the U.S. Embassy in Tehran from 1979 to early 1981 for 444 days. Every day we thought about them. But that's because Carter didn't bomb the shit out of Iran. If he had, we would have forgotten about the hostages.
I don't know that we would have forgotten. It would have been part of the alchemy here, and that's what's happening in Israel now. They're also negotiating with Hamas to release these hostages. They're doing in like 2 or 3 maybe. Listen, I think the you and I talked about the strat. What's the long play here for Israel? And I think what you're seeing now is they're revealing their hand. First off, they've surrounded Gaza City.
No, they're in Gaza City right now fighting.
Have they actually?
They're deep inside Gaza City.
And so they're going to find the Hamas, people, and they know who they are.
They're in Qatar, drinking whiskey every night, and fucking whores.
The bigger shots, but they're going to find the troops on the ground, the command structure there. And my suspicion is they're now going to divide Gaza, which is the size of Manhattan, roughly the same population. They're going to cut it in half.
That's already happened.
Yeah. I know, but I'm saying that the long term, they're going to occupy the northern part, install some kind of puppet government, and that's what's going to happen going forward. Now, will that protect Israel? I think in the short run it will. In the long run, probably not. But Marshall, I'm sorry, Ted and I have been blathering.
I've been kind of sitting back. Just a couple of thoughts about it. Number one, to me, it's amazing just watching it that, people that are our age, they generally have a different attitude. And I'm not just saying us particularly, but I'm just saying people of our age, because we grew up with, the 68, 73 wars, watching what's, pro-Israel, generally our country, versus what my son's age, they're in the TikTok generation, and they're getting, once again, that feed every day of seeing the carnage on the ground in Gaza. To me, it's just amazing how social media has totally changed. I was just trying to think about what Dresden would have been like in the age of TikTok, or what the Battle of Manila would have been like, where, the Japanese were throwing babies in the air and bayoneting them and so forth, and the kind of travesty, and even some of the stuff that went on, and God forbid what 9/11 would have been like if we'd had social media, and how that would have changed our attitudes toward the war and so forth. To me, I just think it's fascinating seeing how social media has totally changed how we're having this conversation right now.
It's
no
radical.
doubt.
And not to mention also, I mean, our generation, we're also old enough to remember, I don't know about you guys, I'm sure you have. I mean, I personally knew quite a few people who had survived the Holocaust or had been Holocaust adjacent. I remember one time sitting on the subway in the 80s, and there was a woman, not, super old. I would say she was probably in her 50s. And she was riding next to me, and it was summer and not air conditioned. And I noticed that she had an Auschwitz tattoo number on her arm. And that was just part of life. But that's, now I think a lot of American Jews, certainly, and older Americans who support Israel, they tend to draw a direct line between the Holocaust and the state of Israel and what happened October 7th. And they view it as like killing of Jews. Whereas I think younger voters look at that and they think of Israel as just another country. And they're not a special country. They don't have, it's not a worse country. It's not a better country. They just don't have any special rights to do anything or defend themselves more than anyone else. And so to them, they look at this and they're like, okay, you guys lost 1,400 people and that really sucks, but you're not allowed to kill 14,000 people to get even. I think that's sort of
That's an
weird
interesting take, and I think you're probably right. I think you are. I'm looking at the protests on the college campuses, which are perverse, quite frankly, in my view, in many ways. But that's that's been the spin, and we have people, all of us on this call have know people who are very much in the Palestinian camp and don't view it as this is defending the state of Israel, which was created like a phoenix out of the fires of the Holocaust. But I mean, but you do have to look at it that way. Now, where does this go from here? I mean, Ted, and Marshall joined in, obviously, but Ted and I have been talking about this, and this is one of those instances and one of those things that there is synergy and these issues are connected. And this is Ukraine. We have a proxy war in Ukraine with a country that's not our ally. I've actually come around I was very pro Ukraine when they were invaded, because I think, being invaded is probably bad. So I was very much in favor of Ukraine and supporting their efforts. But now we have a guy who's the president who flies around the world claiming to be a representative Democratic government, and in fact has canceled all the elections in his country. And you can say, well, he's having a war in his country. Dude, we had an election in the United States when we had a fucking civil war. So you can have elections. New York had a mayoral election after 9/11. You can do this. You can do this. So don't give me the bullshit that you can't. But we continue to funnel tens of billions of dollars there. There's going to be and we all know there's going to be tens of billions of dollars being shoveled over towards Israel. And I mean, do you stop paying for it? Do you use the money as leverage? I don't know what this White House is doing. I don't know. Not sure what end result. Here's the question. Finally, to you guys, what end result do you want to see?
I want to see a two-state solution. I want to see Israel and Palestine. I think, I think that the sticky wiki there's a lot of them. One of the ones that we never talk about is how Gaza and the West Bank are not contiguous. They don't have access to one another. There needs to be some sort of corridor that they can travel through back and forth. Otherwise, you end up like with East and West Pakistan, right? After the partition of India, that's just weird as shit. I think Azerbaijan also had like that little section of Nagorno-Karabakh sort of cut off. We don't need that kind of frozen conflict zone. But the point is, if you could figure that out, I think you need an independent sovereign Palestinian state, which Israel has never offered, has never put on the table. In other words, one where they control their airspace, they control who comes in and out, they control their own trade, they control their own international relations. Israel can't come and go and send their troops in anytime they want. So if you got that side by side, trading, interacting culturally and politically and economically, that's the future. These people live. I mean, I'm very sympathetic to the Palestinian cause, and no doubt about it. And I recognize that Israel was basically a land theft colonial project from the colonial era. I get that. But so was the US. The US was a land theft colonial project. And the only thing is, the practical fact is these people now all live in the same neighborhood. You've got 9.6 million Jews. You've got 9.1 million Arabs, 500,000 other people. They all live in what was Palestine until 1948. Those people, they have to live side by side and they can't live, and there can't be an apartheid state. They can't be behind security walls. They've got to interact. They've got to get along. And Israel is radicalizing the situation. Every bomb they drop is recruiting hundreds of Jew and Israel hating terrorists of the future. I guarantee you, if I came home and let's just say they didn't kill anyone I knew, but they just blew up my apartment, I'd fucking hate them. So, and I don't think anyone else would feel any different. That's just human nature. That's got to stop. The situation's spiraling rapidly out of control.
And obviously, I don't think Hamas being a governing party is a very good idea as well. I mean, obviously,
Agreed.
Their attack and sending them across and what they did, and that kind of lit the match that started this firestorm that we've got at this point. So, like I said, I'm with you, Ted. I mean, I would love to see, what a great opportunity, especially along, to have that the Gaza Strip there would be really just beautiful country, and it would be really nice. You want to see that.
It's all beach. It's going to be beach resorts.
It's gorgeous. It could be literally like Lebanon was back in the day.
Yeah.
Just absolutely garden spot, and you hope to see that. I don't know how, like I said, at this point, the hatred between the two sides is so ramped up at this point. I'm not sure how you back out of it at this point.
Well, many Jews that I'm talking to here in the United States are using this phrase that seems to be the catchphrase, which is, you can't have peace until Israel wins. And they're specific to this conflict. And I'm not sure I'm not sure they're wrong. I'm not sure that when Israel finally gets done doing what it's doing.
Israel did win. They won before. They had victory for the last 15 years. They've had the Palestinians all penned up. They have suffered almost no terrorist attacks of any significance compared to what used to be normal 20, 30, 40 years ago. Remember, there were always like these bus attacks, malls being bombed, cafes being blown up. That stuff, they put an end to it. The security walls put an end to that, right? So they've enjoyed peace for 15 years. They had it their way, just like Burger King. And then, but the point, what did they fucking do with their peace? Nothing. They locked up the Palestinians in Gaza and the West Bank, and they threw away the key. They fucked up. They thought that they could just ignore 5 million people and that they would just sit back and not care. The problem, Hamas isn't the problem. Hamas is the symptom of the problem. Like, Hamas could never have, like Che Guevara said in his book on guerrilla warfare, you can't, like a guerrilla army, which is what Hamas is, cannot survive unless it swims in, it's like a fish that has to swim in the ocean of the people. If it doesn't have popular support, people turn them in. There's just no, they can't survive. And so the reason that they're not unpopular, I'm using that phrasing instead of popular, but the reason they're not unpopular is because they are the only game in town. They're pushing back against the Israelis. I guarantee you most Palestinians just want the same things as the rest of us want. They want to live in peace. They want their kids to do well. They want to, live in a nice place and have a nice job. That's it. And the point is that they're desperate and hopeless, and Hamas preys on that.
Yeah, and am I mistaken in also hearing that Hamas does things like they pave the roads, they make sure the electricity is on, they make sure that the water's drinkable.
Take care of old people. I
mean, that's practical stuff. Stuff we don't do here. I think you've talked me into voting Hamas.
Well, and don't forget who put these fuckers in charge in the first place. Oh, what was it? Oh, yeah, that's right. It was Israel. It was the right-wing government of Israel that propped up Hamas and funded them and paid them billions of dollars, which they all squirreled away in Swiss accounts, and in order to try to weaken Mahmoud Abbas. They had a moderate, wimpy partner in the Palestinian Authority, and they chose to undermine him, and they cut off his balls. And now he's completely discredited with the Palestinian population. They hate him. Same thing in the West Bank. He doesn't.
Who are we talking about?
Mahmoud Abbas.
Okay.
87 years old, makes Joe Biden look spry. It's pathetic. I mean, this was a huge mistake on the Israelis' point of view. The Israelis should try to co-opt the Palestinian Authority, buy them, rent them, flood them with cash. And let's not forget the Palestinian Authority, they do a lot of work for fighting terrorism in the West Bank. They fight the militant groups. That's like things we never talk about.
Well, okay.
Sorry, I get a little heated on this.
No, that's okay. We all do.
Well, I guess the question is, normally proxy wars don't seem to really move the needle politically in this country.
No, they never seem to work.
Is this time? Do you think this is different just because of the scale of it? And also our relationship with Israel is so, it's a different relationship. Like the partnership with Ukraine is brand new, but the partnership with Israel, it goes way back to the beginning.
Yeah, Israel would not exist without us. But with Ukraine, does that move? I mean, is it a political issue? I mean, yeah, I think the Republicans are definitely starting to do that. You said Tommy Tuberville, of all people, the third senator from Florida, because he He doesn't
Thank
have
you,
a house
Scott.
here.
You own Tommy. He's yours.
No, but he doesn't live here. He doesn't own a house in Alabama.
I've always said that, thank you for Tommy, because it makes Mississippi will never have the dumbest politician until Tommy's off the scene. So thank you. I appreciate that.
He won't. He'll win re-election.
Well,
I guarantee it.
How about the Trump factor, guys? I mean, Trump has been skeptical of foreign policy interventionism, right? I mean,
yeah,
he was willing to talk to North Korea. He was willing to talk to the Iranians, although nothing came of that. He was, and he did negotiate the withdrawal from Afghanistan, which I wholeheartedly approve of, not executed well by Biden. What happens? I mean, if Trump comes back, does he? I can't imagine him cutting off the Israelis because he's so pro-Israel.
Yeah, but he doesn't like Netanyahu. So that's
right.
Yeah.
But he did let them have their cap, move the embassy to Jerusalem.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a big deal. But I could really see him cutting off the Ukrainians.
Oh, he could definitely, absolutely cut off.
Yeah, I mean, he's still a little pissed about that whole impeachment thing. So yeah, I could see him doing that.
Well, the Ukrainians did have a little role there, yeah,
and he kind of helped it out a little bit too. So
true.
I don't know. Like I said, it's just the dynamic of. I mean, I hear the comment. Well, we've taken out a good chunk of Russia's military without losing a single soldier. On that sort of thing. I just know that ever since that war got started, every time the sun comes up, I just kind of check to make sure it's not a nuclear blast. It's just like it's weird times right now. It's like we're literally on the edge of our seats between these two worlds. You expect to see Kirk Cameron pop up and say, "Hey, I got left behind, and so did you." It's like, oh crap, just weird. It's just weird.
It's so funny you mentioned 9/11 because I was working at the Birmingham News, and there was like, well, now we have to shut down the city and we have to make, add added security to our taller buildings. I'm going, seriously, really?
I said Bin Laden's not coming for Jackson. That was my comment.
Yeah, if you sat him down and said, are you going to bomb Birmingham, Alabama? He's going to go, I don't know what that is.
Yeah, he would go, I think they've got it themselves.
Yeah, well, that's like Bin Laden did say something hilarious when he said he was asked, like, oh, the Americans in an interview, the Americans say that you hate their freedoms. Is that why you attacked on 9/11? And he said, if we hated people because of their freedoms, he said, we would have attacked Amsterdam.
There aren't really tall buildings there, though, to be fair. Really tall.
True. That's true.
They could have gotten the dikes or the the Klompens.
Right. True.
Okay. Do you want to have one more set?
We should probably wrap it up. I've got to wrap it up.
What do you have to do, Ted? Now what do you have to do?
I have to, well, believe it or not, I have things to do. I have to, that I cannot enumerate right now.
Okay. All right.
Not for public consumption.
Okay.
No,
it's not like a Jeffrey Toobin type thing. I just do have things to do.
I will say, and I meant to throw this in on the Gaza thing and what's going on with that. I think one of the real terrifying and sad byproducts on this is just some of the anti-Semitism that's going on and some of the other conflict that you're seeing over, like, in this country on that. And there's groups in Mississippi that are just more than happy to, hey, we hate Jews. There you go. And you hate to see that. And I've got a very good friend, obviously their synagogue has had to triple their security. That to me
sucks.
is just, yeah, it sucks. It really does. That's the world we live in right now. On so many different levels, when your kids have to worry about, when the police cars show up out front, they have to think, is that a school shooter? It's just kids now having to grow up in ways that we didn't even have to think about. And I think about my own kids, it's just nuts. So sorry, this is the point in the podcast when I've run out of brain injury and I just start just randomly saying things. So I apologize. It's been a long day. Last night I ended up doing my cartoon at like midnight about the election. So always my best work happens after midnight. So
actually, I found that the deadline cartooning, I look at the cartoons.
I enjoy it.
I was really under the gun. It turned out pretty good.
You just like the newsroom pizza.
Oh God, who doesn't? But you posted a picture. You had some kind of like
Yeah, chili chicken
fancy
stew. Yeah, I did that. I stayed at the house. I didn't want to get in the way.
Oh, I thought they actually had that in your newsroom at Mississippi Today.
No, they're not that cool. No, they did sandwiches, I think, or something. I don't know what they did today.
Oh, okay. I was about to be incredibly impressed. No,
I didn't get it. I didn't get invited to the governor's party for some reason. I don't know.
No,
why.
I can't imagine why.
I don't get a Christmas card from them this year either. So
you don't?
No, it's amazing. I mean, I thought I'd be here 2 years. I've been here 27. It's like the Hotel California of jobs. You know, you can check out anytime you like, but you can never leave. I think I've done 9,000 cartoons, had 5 governors. It's been a good run. I've enjoyed it. But it is weird because, you know, when I was out in California or even when I was in Texas, you would never see the people you draw. Here you go to lunch on Sunday and you're sitting across from the governor or you're sitting across from the lieutenant governor. It's just a really strange mixture of, you know, oh, you made fun of my uncle. Well, your uncle had it coming to him, you know, he's an asshole, you know, but but you get a lot of that. And like I said, growing up in Atlanta, I thought I was Southerner, but then moving here and Scott, you and I for years, we played stupid governor chess. You know, it's just, we've always had really good material to work with while we've been here on that. But
sorry, Ted.
That's quite all right.
No, Ted, you would love it here, and they would love you, and I think it would be a lot of fun.
I would love it. I would love.
I think you would.
I would love to.
If you ever want to come, I'll give you a good tour. We can go do some blues stuff, and you know, at the end of the day, people say, you know, and I can tell you all the problems that we have in Mississippi, and I could fill up 3 podcasts, but we have a great arts community, we have a great writers community, we have a great musician community, and to me, that's been the part that I've enjoyed and loved the most, is I get to hang around with some incredibly talented people, just like I've gotten to today. So thank y'all for inviting me.
Thank you for joining us, Marshall. It's a privilege. Hopefully you'll come back.
Yeah, where can we see your stuff? Where can we see your stuff?
MississippiToday.org.
All right. Ted.
Okay. All right. And you can see my stuff at Sputnik News. You can and also whowhatwhy.org and gocomics.com/ Ted Rall and Rall.com, RALL.com. Probably some other stuff that I'm forgetting, but whatever. Scott, where can we see your stuff?
Go to gocomics.com/ Scott Stantis. Go to gocomics.com/ Prickly City to see my comic strip. You can go to the Chicago Tribune.com/ opinion and see a gallery of the work I do for them. And I have an exciting, interesting, I've got an announcement. We'll make it in the next few weeks. I've already told. Ted already knows.
I already do know.
You do know.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congrats, Scott. That's great. I can't wait.
All right.
Okay, cool.
For that thing that we can't talk about.
You're going to be amazing. Your footwork is great. I think your voice is good. I think you're going to be great on Broadway. I really do.
I really do. Yes.
Dancing with the Stars. With Janet.
They've run out of people officially if Scott's on there.
Hey.
All right, guys. With that, thanks everybody for listening, and we will check you out next week unless something comes up before that.
Bye.
Bye.